we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Y'all be seated. Congregating with back up. Well, Mally, while the kids are going, are the kids going? Come on, kids, go. No. Kids, stay. Would you bring my iPad, Mally? I screwed up. I don't know. I left it. Was that really us live? That's cool. It's like Memory X. Come on now. Look at that little green bag. Look at green bag. Green bag. Green bag. All right, kids, you're hanging with us today. Cyril. Oh, it's down there on the floor. I saw it right there. Oh, you could make me a coffee. That would be awesome. Oh, awesome. Here, you want to give that to the kids? You're it for me. I was it, dork.
I was it.
How can two people be it? He's a liar. Huh? Oh, chitlins. You're going with Jackie. Guilt is the best way to get a children's teacher. I'm telling you. I'm really kind of not trying to do this sermon, so I'm procrastinating because I really don't want to do it. I'm not talking to you right now. So. She's mad at me. She wants to tell me how mad she is. I'm just not going to listen to her. You'll wait. What did I do with my little Nerf ball? Ray and Buff are watching live, so say hello, Ray and Buff. I really just meant to say hello, Ray and Buff, not tell you to say hello, because they really can't see you. It doesn't really make sense. Yeah, so potentially there's like 1 million people watching this morning. Potentially. Like I said, I don't want to do this sermon. We're going to do it anyway, because I believe God wants us to do it. But we've talked about forgiveness before. There, see, that's why. That's why. Because even when you're working on the sermon, you're like, oh, come on. Not them. Don't make me forgive them. But I do want to do it from a little bit different spot. I don't read a lot of books, but this will be the second time I've read a book that actually has a sermon series kind of attached to it, or a sermon message kind of attached to it. Jansen Franklin wrote a book called Love Like You've Never Been Hurt. Now, he didn't come up with the phrase. I'm going to tell you where that phrase come from in just a minute. But, bring him up. Would you bring those ketchup bottles right here? Well, one's not really ketchup, but you can keep that one. I mean, unless you want your steak sauce, you can have that. Yeah. Table. There's 2 things in the Bible that deserve an entire chapter devoted to it. One of them is Hebrews chapter 11. What is that? Faith. That's right. By faith, by faith. It all started, these people, by faith, by faith, by faith. Then there's 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And what's it? The love chapter is devoted to love. Two things so important that you would devote that kind of time to it. Love and faith. I want to read 1 Corinthians. We don't usually read this many, but I want you to read. We're going to read the whole, 8 verses of 1 Corinthians. Let me read it for you. Take your time. That's all right. There you go. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains and do not have love, I'm nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and I give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. The standard marriage verse right here. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. And it always perseveres. Read this one out loud, right there in bold. Love never fails. We'll hold right there. No, we're just going to that. Love never fails. Actually, delete everything off that except for love never fails. Put it right in the middle and let it sit there. Because I firmly believe forgiveness is tied to this word. And what you just read in 7 verses says everything else you try to validate your Christianity with is useless without it. So if you've got all this stuff in your life, and it's positive things, and it's I'm a Christian because, and this and this and that and this and those and everything, but then you say something like, well, but I can't forgive them, then you have to backtrack that up. And 1 Corinthians 1 through 7 says, well, that's everything else is nothing. So everything you had it's nothing. Forget it. Just actually forget it. I mean, in reality, it's saying, well, you're lying. The whole part, the rest of your life where you're like, I'm this, I'm that, I believe, I'm a follower, Jesus is all I am, and then you've got this one thing, this one thing negates the rest of it. I mean, you literally read everything that you could be, and it lists everything that we are as a Christian, right? It does this, I do this, but if I don't have love, so I've got all this stuff without love, I'm nothing. Does it mean nothing? You know what nothing is, right? Nothing, right? It's not some, it's not kinda. Oh, I mean, I know I'm supposed, I love this one. Well, I know I'm supposed to, but nothing. I know I should, but so it's not active. Well, it's kind of active, but it's not, well, I'm going to go forgive just because I am. Doesn't work that way. I'm a Christian, so I must forgive you. That's not what it says. Love is the push. If you have it, you automatically do the others. It's the foundation. You don't go out and love because you are. You go out and do because you love. It's the push. It's the powder keg. It's what pushes everything else along. It's what makes you forgive. The love does. And 1 Corinthians 13 says if you don't have it, you're nothing. Nothing. You can't do anything without it. You can't pick up and just walk around and say, I'm a Jesus follower, or I'm going to do this, and not have it. Love never fails. It never fails. You've probably read this. Everybody's read that chapter, right? A bunch. Yeah, I mean, even the world knows this one. Like I said, every wedding, if you're a secular wedding, this is the verse you pick. Because it works, right? Because everybody's after the love. I like to read famous quotes, so I found some, and see if you know what they are, or see if you know who did them. You've used many of them. It's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. You might know who that was? Alfred Tennyson. Knowledge is power. Francis Bacon. To err is human, to forgive is divine. Everybody says these and we don't know who said them. Alexander Pope. How about this one? God helps those that help themselves. How many of y'all thought it was a Bible verse? You're lying. Most of us did. You know who said that? Yeah, good girl. No, it's not the Bible. No, it's not. Doesn't sound very godly. No, yeah, Ben Franklin said that. God helps those who help themselves. Love like you've never been hurt. That's what we're going to say today. Love like you've never been hurt. That quote came from a guy, I had to write him down. I don't remember all of them. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1982. He was the first or only first African-American pitcher in the American League. He played for 20 years. Played baseball for 20 years. His name is Leroy Satchel Paige. And what's cool is that he was the only black man pitching at the time, so he took all kinds of grief, took all kinds of racial slurs, took all kinds of they were on him, at him. And one time, so I did a lot of research. I don't know a lot about baseball, but I knew this. You know how in baseball, there's actually strategy in baseball? You did not know this. I thought you just got up there, hit the ball. If you hit it hard enough, you made it around the bases. But typically, you get 3 mediocre batters and then 1 good batter, right? Yeah, I didn't know that was a phrase, but yes, the cleanup. The cleanup meant you knock the rest of them in. So how does it feel to be in front of the really good batter? I mean, it's just bad self-esteem all the way around. Anyway, so there was this team that was going to really humiliate Leroy, and they lined up 4 of their best batters in a row, stood them in a line, and they were going to humiliate him. So Leroy turns around to his outfielders and says, to the dugout. He sent all of his outfielders to the dugout. And he then said, first, second, third, shortstop, sit down. Made everybody sit down and everybody leave the outfield. And then he struck out all 4 batters in a row. He's pretty confident, right? He's got yeah, it's pretty good. Go there. So he had some famous pitches. One of them was called the B-ball. B-E-E ball. The other was called Bat Dodger. Another one was called Long Tom. But his most famous pitch was called the Hesitation. And this is how he struck out all 4 batters. He had this stance. You know the baseball stance, right? Go back. I perfected this. When I was young, I was a pitcher. Not very good, but I was a pitcher. But I looked good when I did it. Right? And I always chewed Big League Chew. And I always had this thing, and I always came back, and I would always spit. You had to spit every time, right, when you went back. But Leroy, he would hesitate, and he would hold this stance for, like, long periods, like multiple seconds. I mean, normally you're only supposed to hold it for, like, a second. But he would hold it, and it threw off the timing of the batters. And nobody knew how long he was going to hold it, so he would vary it. That's how he struck out those 4 in a row. But that was his most famous pitch. Coming off that field, that time he did that, all of the racial slurs that were still, even as good as he was, that were still coming at him, they asked him, how do you feel when that's going on? And that was the phrase he gave the world. You just got to love like you've never been hurt. He never, ever attacked people for saying it. He never went back at them. He's also given, here's a couple of quotes he also said, just as cool, I think. Keep the ball off the fat part of the bat. If you want to be a good pitcher, that's what he said. And then he also, he's giving you this one. I think you've used this. It's probably printed on one of somebody's walls in here. Work like you don't need the money and dance like nobody's watching. That's his. He actually said that, right? But most famous for, you got to love like you've never been hurt. See, sooner or later, everybody who's listening, either in this room or the millions of people out in the world who are watching us this morning, are going to be hurt by somebody you love. And I'm really going to make it personal this morning, all right? So I believe that if we start this thing really tight to your circle, okay? It's easy to talk about forgiveness to somebody that's really distant from you, and that needs to come, that needs to happen, but I think you got to start closer, because I think if you can do that, then the forgiveness everywhere else is just like easy. But somebody in here is going to be hurt by somebody. They're going to be talked about by somebody you love, really close to you, close family member, really tight circle group, whatever that is. You're going to be put down by somebody, and actually right now you've probably already got a face that has come to that definition. You've already put a face to that description, and you're thinking you're going to be stabbed in the back, or it's going to happen. Mark Twain said, this is the Sunday of quotes. Mark Twain said, if you find a dog laying on the side of the road and it's hurt, You take that dog home, you nurse it back to health, you pet it, you love on it, that dog will never, ever bite you. But then he went on and said, and that's the difference between humans and dogs. Because even those you love the most will bite you. Now think about how much trauma in your life occurs within your own either family, immediate or distant, extended, or your close-knit, what you call just your family of life. Think about how easy it is to get what we like to say, crossways. Anybody ever been crossways with somebody? Nobody? Really? Crossways, meaning at outs, at odds. Come on, what do you use? I'm mad at my... Mad? Is it? Oh no. Okay. Can't say that out loud. I get it. Here's what Jesus said in Luke 17. Offense is going to come. And he went on to talk about it a little bit, but offense is going to be there. And I think what Jesus would say would be, offense is going to be there. Now, how are you going to deal with it? What are you going to do about the fact that it is there? What are you going to do when you don't agree? What are you going to do when you don't get along? What are you going to do? Because it's easy to get along with somebody as long as you have the same viewpoint, the same theology, the same political whatever, the same friend group, any of that. It's easy to get along with them. But I'm talking about how do you get along with the people that you're in conflict with? Because Jesus says it's going to happen. It could be the whole trouble thing that Paul's talking about. In this world, you're going to have trouble. Right? So here it is. Here you live. Trouble's there. Jesus would say, offense has come. Now what are you going to do about it? Are you going to ignore it? I don't think 1 Corinthians 13 allows us to ignore it. Are you going to fight back? I don't think 1 Corinthians 13 allows us to fight back. So what are you going to do with it? Love never fails. So would you rather use something that could fail, right? Fighting back, that could fail. Sometimes you win with fighting back, but not always. Ignoring it, sometimes that works, right? You could move, right? You could delete them off Facebook. Quit following their Instas. You could do all those things, but sometimes that works. Or you could do something that absolutely, positively, never, ever fails. And that's use love. And you can start with it. I mean, the truth is, there's some people out there probably in your life get up every morning and they brush their teeth and they sharpen their tongue, right? So that they can come at you, right? Or at least that's what it feels like. I mean, does anybody know somebody that's like really close to you that you think is literally their life's work is to just deal with you, right? Is to just be at odds with you. It's almost like every day there's a new thing. And you don't think that there's anything positive out there. That happens. Jesus would even say that's going to happen. Somewhere you're going to be offended. Somewhere you're going to be deeply wounded. Maybe you're working with them right now. They're really close to you. How's that for feeling good about coming to church on Sunday morning? I think about Joseph. You know that guy in the Bible? Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about my friend Joseph. Where he's standing after everything has happened in his life. He's got the keys to the barn in his hand. He knows how to open the silo. And everybody's standing around him, and I just vision him kind of on a stage like this. And there's Potiphar's wife. She's there. All of his brothers, they're there. And he's like, I can just let you starve. But he didn't. I could get my revenge right now. I could say, I told you so. Or I can choose something that's never going to fail. He saved his family. And in essence, save the world with that key by choosing that over the other. Moses wanted to set people free, right? But he kind of failed. And he spent 40 years in the wilderness campaign, 4 decades. And God comes back to him in a burning bush and is like, I want you to go back in there and get them. And Moses says, yeah, I've already pet that dog and it bit me. But he goes back. And he did set them free. You see, he lived and he loved like he'd never been hurt. Joseph loved like he'd never been hurt. He forgot them, so to speak. See, we're taught sometimes in forgiveness that you don't have to forget, right? You can forgive but not forget and all this stuff. But literally, sometimes forgetting will fail you. Sometimes you're not able to forget. Anybody ever not been able to forget, even though you tell yourself, I'm just going to forget that happened? You know, that's literally impossible to do. Your brain does not have the physical capability to forget on demand. It chooses what it wants to forget, right? I mean, we've all forgotten. But you don't get to say, I'm going to forget that. Gone. Doesn't work, right? So it'll fail you. But this one won't fail you. This one will always work. Always. Try it. It's kind of like my tithing thing. Try love and see if you can get it to fail. Because if you can get love to fail, we need to quit. If God says never and you find that sometimes, you're smarter than God. And we'll start making this thing about you. I'm sorry. We had told him it was about him already. Didn't know you were in here. David. David had a father who didn't believe in him. He had brothers who made fun of him, belittled him, had a wife who put him down and mocked him when he was worshiping. He had a son named Absalom who broke his heart. He had a father-in-law who tried to kill him. You thought your family was jacked up. You thought your kids were crazy. David had to sit and say, I'm not going to be bitter. I'm going to be better. And he loved like he'd never been hurt before. He loved his family like he'd never been hurt before. Sometimes you have to love God like you've never been hurt before. You see, it's one thing to have a prodigal son or a prodigal daughter, but what happens when you've got a prodigal God? Anybody have a time in their life whenever God had kind of disappeared? At least you thought. Like he wasn't really there, wasn't attentive, wasn't meeting your needs, wasn't giving you what you wanted. It's hard to love him like you've never been hurt. It really is. But that's where you got to be. Loving God like you've never been hurt. The other stuff, kind of easy. Job, poor guy, lost 10 children in one day. Had a wife that said, man, you just need to curse God and die. Sat in a circle for a week as friends sat around him. Can you imagine? Every day, every one of them told him, dude, this is what's wrong with you. You're sick because of sin. God has let you go because of this. And they just kept giving reason after reason after reason after reason. And at the end of it, Job decided, I'm going to love like I've never been hurt. And God comes back and says, I'm going to give you double for your trouble. See, Job could have picked his out. Job could have lashed back at any one of those people. I firmly believe those friends that were in his circle, that were his close friends, those were the ones who you've got in your life that, love you the most. Right? Huh? Yeah? Did somebody say something? You got to speak clearer. I believe they were the ones that he really trusted to speak into his life. So it wasn't just a passerby saying, oh, it's this in your life. It was somebody he knew and he loved close and dearly. And it was a way that he could have just said, that has failed. But he chose not. He chose, I'm going to love like I've never been hurt. Jesus was afflicted, he was beaten, he was wounded. Those are outside. He was bruised, he was internally hurt. And he didn't wait. He's on the cross. Think about that. He's on the cross. He didn't wait for somebody to yell out, hey, forgive me. He actively said, I'm going to love them like I've never been hurt. I'm going to love that guy right over there who just hurt me physically. I'm going to love that guy right over there who hurt me internally, my bruises that are inside. I'm going to love that guy like they never did it. Like it never even happened. ServPro, that's our current company. Like it never even happened. Disasters that never even, love like you've never even been hurt. Jesus is looking down at those people and he's saying, Father, just forgive them. Handing that off without even being asked. Romans 5 tells us that when you were estranged from God, you didn't even have a moral compass. You didn't know where righteousness was. This is my paraphrase. God actively chose to reconcile to you. He actively chose to create a way back. And now he would like for you to do the same thing. He would like for you to actively choose a path of reconciliation back to those, especially those who you love the most, who are in your closest circle. He would have you to go and pass along reconciliation. Be the one who generates the reconciliation path. See, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be that. It's counterintuitive. It's counter-flesh. You want to say, well, I'm a Jesus follower. I believe everything he says. This you do not automatically want to do unless he is directing it 100%. Unless he is the push behind it. You want to say you're following, you will actively seek to reconcile to those who have done the worst to you. Because that's what God did for you. He sought to reconcile those who had done the worst, meaning were completely separated from him. You, completely separated. He chose to actively reconcile back to you. And he wants you to do the same. And it never, ever fails. We've learned that our kids aren't going to do everything right. It took us a while. And we have one married now. We just have one of our bonus ones come the other day, and now she's engaged. And so we're going to have another wedding. See, if you can't get rid of them one way, get rid of them another. All right. But anyway, they're not going to raise their kids the way we raise them. It's just not going to happen. Right? They don't like us. We're their parents. They're not supposed to like us, right? Right? Some of you older, Jerry, some of you older people. Jerry just told me he was a lot older than me the other day. You've told us, well, you're not supposed to be their friends. They're not supposed to like you. Well, then I'm the best parent on the planet. Right? Because they don't like you. They're going to take my parenting skills and they're going to show me how bad they suck by raising theirs in a totally different way. Right? And I'm going to be faced with a choice. You are an idiot, I can tell them. Right? Or I can shut up. Because one shows that, and the other shows not that. See, I can actively choose to love no matter what. Or I can try to be right. I've said that in my life as far as being married a long time. You can either be right or happy. Right? And I'm the happiest guy you'll ever meet. It's not going to happen. See, sometimes you got to look at okay, so I'm going to say these people, all right? Do y'all know who I'm talking about now when I say these people? The person you've got in your mind. That person. Okay, so when I'm saying these people, They're all different. You got to look at these people and say, I wouldn't choose it the way you would choose it. I wouldn't do it the way you're doing it. But I love you anyway, and I don't really care. It does not affect the way I love you. And especially when it comes to your kids, your grandkids. I don't have those yet, but I know it doesn't really matter. They can do anything they want to do, right? Right? You know what? Oh, give me some grandkids. I screwed up the kids. I can't wait to screw up my grandkids, right? Love them and send them home. Except they all live with us. Doesn't matter. Anyway. So what does it look like? It looks like that. It looks like love. See, you and I want the equation. Peter, remember Peter? He wanted the equation. I think Peter's like better. He's more like us than, I like Paul, but I think Peter's more like us because Peter could look at you 1 minute and cut you. And Jim likes to say, I will cut you. Peter could cut you in one moment and preach to you the next. Right? And we're sure that Peter may have been the only disciple that was married. We know that because Jesus healed his mother-in-law. So we know that Peter was married. And I think this may be what's generating Peter's question. He's like, how many times do I have to forgive her? Right? Right? Because he's like, Pharisees said I had to forgive 6 times. Do y'all know how often Pharisees had to forgive that 6 times? Do y'all know the timing? So forgiveness for a Pharisee was 6 times per day. That's per day. You see, Pharisees believed that as long as you were righteous enough, right, or you did all the right things, at the end of the day it didn't count anymore. So you started over the next day. Pretty cool, right? Except for that forgiveness thing. So Peter thinks, he says, okay, so I'm going to take the Pharisees and I'm going to up them 1. And he says, Jesus, 7, right? Is 7 better than 6? We know it is. Jesus, surely you'll like 7 because that's like God's number, right? So 7 times in one day, is that enough? Peter's looking for the number. You're looking for the number. You want to know how many times you have to forgive someone. You want to know that. You want to know because you'll ask your friends, how many times do you think I got to forgive this? How often do you think, how much do you think I should put up with this? You ever had that conversation with somebody? Peter had it with Jesus. Just how much do I have to give? How long do I have to put up with this? Right? That's what Peter's saying. And Jesus says, let's just take it to 490 in a day. And tomorrow you're going to do the 490 again and again and again. To which Peter's going to go, crap, I don't want to. Or he's going to say, I can't. And Jesus is going to say, I know. So let's just love instead, because it'll never fail. Let's just flip it around and quit worrying about whether you got to forgive somebody for your offense and just love them anyway. And then you don't have to worry about, well, I'm forgiving you for this and forgiving you for that. And I ain't forgiving you for that yet, but I'm working on it. Right? Jesus is still working on me. Bull. Let's just love. Active, personal first. That person that's in your brain right now, all the reasons you've thought, I don't have to. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. All those reasons. Love instead. Love instead. See if we can maybe even take our focus away from the forgiveness and put it on the love. And love like you've never been hurt before. Forgiveness will happen automatically. It's like that with everything that Jesus tries to get us to do. If you'll focus on me, if you'll do what I've told you to do, and just love me and follow me, this other stuff just kind of happens. You see, the reason you're having trouble forgiving somebody is because you're not loving him enough. And I know that sounds harsh and that sounds churchy, but it's the core. And you and I want to fix symptoms. We want to take a pill. You can't. You've just got to do it. Why is the ketchup up here? Is nobody even going to ask? Because I like ketchup. Now, I kind of like this bottle of ketchup. Kind of. There's a restaurant in town. What? Oh, I thought she was telling me what the name of it was. How do you know? It's called, it's a bistro. What's the name of it? What? No, not in this town. It's in Fort Myers. They don't like ketchup. What's his name? Mad Fresh Bistro. If you go in there and ask for ketchup, he will smack you. No, I'm not lying. Y'all remember the Seinfeld soup Nazi? He is the ketchup Nazi. Okay, so in his menu, it says, unless you're 12, do not ask for ketchup, and even then, you're not going to get it, right? But I love ketchup, and he makes the best French fries, and it'd be so much better with ketchup on them. But you can't tell him that. Anyway, I like ketchup, and this bottle. You know what happens when you squeeze this bottle the first time? Just all over you. Just stupid. Did you know that the Heinz company had it right in the very beginning? Let's show them that picture of that bottle. They came out with that. Y'all remember the Heinz bottle? You can't buy this bottle freaking anywhere right now because I tried for a sermon illustration. Can't do it. Evidently, it's politically incorrect to have glass somewhere. It's probably like, I'd love to have that glass bottle with a plastic straw in it. Only a local is going to get that. So this bottle was created back in, I didn't even look at, 1869. Do y'all know why it's 57? Nope. It was Mr. Heinz's lucky number. That's it. They actually had 60 varieties when they came up with the whole thing, but still 57 was his number. There's actually 57,000 varieties now. Mixing and matching, it's kind of like the 2,000 flavors of ice cream. It's not really that many. It's just you can mix them. Law of math. So anyway, 57. The glass bottle. Y'all know what the 57's for, right? What's it for? No. Yeah. You tap it. That's where you tap it. You know how many people in America know that as of November 2017? How many people who use Heinz? 11%. Huh? Oh, that's where you tap the bottle. The embossed 57, the embossed one, is where you tap the bottle. It's literally scientific. Can you believe there's this much crap goes into ketchup, right? Do you know how fast ketchup comes out of that bottle? No, there's a number. A literal number that it can't go to market unless it meets. 0.028 miles per hour. All this is on the internet. All you got to do is look it up. You probably will. So Heinz came, a little Heinz spokesman came out and said, okay, that's our fact. It does not go to market unless it hits 0.028 miles per hour. And it is pressurized and scientifically created. The 57 is embossed right there scientifically, because if you tap that 57, that's what will release the ketchup. Now, if you keep tapping it, it will kind of come out like one of these. You've all done this. Right. But if you tap it and release the pressure and then just hold it, it'll pour. Now, this is not what your forgiveness is supposed to look like. Forgiveness usually doesn't come out in just a gush. You're forgiven. You're forgiven. Yeah. Everyone under your seat, you've received a number. If you look at that number, number 7 gets a new car. Yeah, you're forgiven. That was our Oprah thing. It doesn't come out like this. And if you try it, you'll realize it's not right. It doesn't really work. It really just makes a mess. But if you continually tap on that 57, if you'll just tap it, forgiveness will flow. And the first step to get it, number 1, write this, open it up. You can tap that 57 all you want with the cap on it, and it's 0 miles per hour coming out the end. So if you're going to do this, You've got to be open to it. You've got to look at that verse. Yeah, you can get rid of Heinz. You got to look at that verse. And you go, okay, love never fails. That's where I need to be. I'm going to tap on that. I'm going to that's where I'm going to start hitting. And I'm going to start love. And I'm going to go after it, and I'm going to take a step. What's that look like? In our day, it would be send a text. If you still got a flip phone, he has a flip phone. I kid you not. He's so funny. You would send a postcard, right? You still have those, right? Or you would just call. That's right. He doesn't text. He likes to call. I bet he still has a wall phone. You have a wall phone at home? You wish. Mary, you still have a wall phone, don't you? A house phone. Right. She still has her house phone. Anybody else still have her house phone? You do. You're from Kentucky. That doesn't count. You do. Where are you from? It's a regional thing. It's a regional thing. Does it still have the cord attached, or did you at least go cordless? You went cordless. You cut the cord. Right. I got it. It's still attached to the wall at some point, but it's there. Yeah, so that's first step. You reach out. You'll do something. You either text them, you call them, you send a card, whatever, and you start that process. Tap that 57 once. Okay, that's not going to work in the analogy at all, but fine. Tilt the bottle and back on the 57, whatever. Start it. You got to be open to it, and then you got to start. You got to take a step. You got to do it. You can't just say, okay, well, I forgive them. Listen, we're talking about personal. That's why we started here, because you got to take some extra stuff in this one. You can say you forgive somebody that you don't have contact with and you don't need contact with anymore all day long. And you can even lie to yourself about that. You can even make yourself feel better about that. But try it with one of your estranged kids. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but if you have an estranged child, that's the one I'm talking to. Or that's the one I'm talking about. If you have an estranged parent because of some stupid something or something not stupid. Did you know that God didn't give you a caveat? God didn't say as long as they didn't do this, you need to love them? Nope. All of it. It goes across the board no matter what they did. Nothing is above love. Nothing. That's where it really sucks. Because some of you may have somebody in your family that you could care less if you ever saw, talked to, had anything to do with ever again, right? Some of us know. But it's there. That's why I go to a closer circle. There are some people you used to be really close to, like you brought into your circle. You called them family. You shared everything with. It's that person. And then you just decided, because of something, was justifiable, at least in the moment, and you wrote them off. You ever heard someone say that about somebody they loved? I just wrote them off. I had to cut them out of my life. Listen, there's this thing going around, and it's somebody I know that's saying it. They're literally preaching it. That it's okay to cut out people in your life if they're toxic to you. Now, I'm just not going to buy it. At least for the close. Yeah, you don't need to bring toxic people into your life. Got that. But I'm talking about the people that God has strategically and purposely placed into your circle. He put them there. And you know it. And if they were birthed into it, there's no arguing it. You don't get to write them off. That's not that. Love never, ever fails. You see, there's probably a 19-year-old girl or a 17-year-old girl out there in the world today, and she's probably having a baby. And mama's probably wrote her off because she didn't do what she said she should, or she had sex before she was married, and that's not the Christian Christian way. What that girl needs is a mama. She needs a mama who will walk into that room and say, you know what? I love you. I'll show you how to change diapers. I'll show you. I'll be that. There's probably a spouse, maybe in this room, who has every reason to write off their significant other. You're biblically justified in doing it. You're spiritually secure in doing it. But maybe you're here and you're listening. Maybe you're out there listening, and God's saying, I'm not done with your family. And maybe God's going, let's not write that off yet. You see, when you stood before one day and said, I believe God put us together, God would say, and I'm keeping you together. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's you. Maybe you're the one that needs to ask. Maybe you're the one that did it. You see, this works both ways. Sometimes you stepped away because of what they did. Sometimes they stepped away because of what you did. Guess what? It's still about you. It's still on your shoulders to fix it. Whether you were the offender or the one that was offended. It's up to you. Because love is active and love is from your perspective. You're the one that's doing the loving. Because love never fails. And if you actually believe it, why would you not use it? Why would you use anything else that could potentially fail? Why would you try to use anything else? Why wouldn't you just use love? I wouldn't. Let's just go. Time to get to work. That's where you stand up. You see, it's fun to sit in here and learn about it. Well, it's fun for me. I've heard it before. But now it's active. Now you got to walk out and decide. Nah. Or you can try the stuff that never fails. Go out these doors where it gets real. Go to lunch where it gets real. You might need to leave here and drive somewhere and let this get real. Sometimes a phone call is not going to do it. Might be a start. Some of you are going to be making some tough choices. And I'm praying for that. Literally. I'm here for you. You want advice on doing that. I hope this is so real that right now you're scared to death for the service to end because you know you've got something to do. You know that this is going to hurt. And now you can choose to either let it not hurt and ignore it, try something that might fail, or literally go forward because love is never going to fail. Regina's here for the summer. The whole summer, Corey. She's going to cook for us in the summer. She doesn't know it yet. Maybe she does now. I'm glad you're here. Would you pray for us in just a moment? Wednesday night, we are back up. Are we back up here? Huh? Oh, that's right. We're not here Wednesday night because it's July 4th. Next week, cookout with Warren and Tina. And you keep recruiting. And so quit recruiting because I got to use them later. And they'll recruit you. Are we over there? So just watch your bulletin next week. We'll let you know where we are. Be praying. Kids are going to youth camp a week from tomorrow. All right? So if you're wanting to help sponsor, what the kids are paying $50 a person, and then the church is meeting the rest. If you want to sponsor one for the $50, you can do that and help them out. Or They have concessions each day. Many of the kids that are going, they don't even have concession money. That's just the way it is. If you want to help sponsor their concession money, if you can put an envelope and just put kids concessions for camp or just kids camp, it'll just go into the right hole, and they can buy their snacks and stuff throughout the week. So we're taking 10, 6th grade through seniors, a week from tomorrow. It's going to be a great time. So be praying for that. Be thinking about those guys. But like I said, if you want to actively participate in that, just stick it in there and just put youth camp, and we'll make sure it goes to the right place. Then everything else that's in the bulletin I want you to be a part of while you're here. If you're on vacation, you are family with us. Come back and celebrate with us. We're going to be in Times Square for fireworks Wednesday night. So if you want to come down there, we'll be right outside Kilwins watching it blow, right? Watching them burn some money. In my old age, I look at fireworks like that now. It's stupid. I want to be young again. I want to watch firecrackers go off and not care that it costs $5 to do that. I can't do it, Jerry. It's the first step. Let's be going with it. Regina, pray for us.